Hello guys, today we're gonna talk about Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. Outliers is a book that talks about the individuals who do things that go beyond the realm of the ordinary. From programmers to business tycoons, geniuses to rock stars, Malcolm Gladwell uncovers the secrets that separates the best from the rest. However, he also argues that the way we approach the concept of success is profoundly wrong. We often attribute success to personal attributes, believing that successful individuals rose from nothing to greatness. Yet, Gladwell believes this is an over-romanticized view of success. He argues that most successful individuals have benefited from hidden advantages and cultural legacies that encourage them to learn, work, and understand the world in a way that others cannot. By grasping where successful people came from, we can begin to understand the logic of success. First, the 10,000 hours rule. Psychologists have spent decades attempting to find out whether innate talents exist. However, the more research this question, the more they realize preparation plays a big role in the formation of talent. This finding was compounded by psychologist K. Andres Eriksson, who conducted a study at Berlin's Academy of Music. Here, he grouped the school's violinists into three tiers according to ability and asked each student how many hours of violin they had practiced throughout their lives. Those in the top tier had practiced a total of 10,000 hours. Those in the middle had practiced 8,000 hours, and those in the bottom have spent 4,000 hours on the violin. Erickson then repeated the study with the Academy's pianists and arrived at the same result. Here, one can argue that it's how much an individual practices that counts, not how much innate talent they have. To further support this finding, Gladwell uses the example of the Beatles, who early on their career landed a regular set of gigs in a series strip clubs in Hamburg, Germany. They had to play long sets, often around the clock, to try to attract those passing by. After a year and a half, they had played a total of 270 nights. By their big break in 1964, they had performed live more than 1,200 times, significantly more than most bands play in their entire careers, thus setting themselves up for success. Having argued that achievement is more about opportunity than talent, Gladwell next focuses on the subject of geniuses. While having a high IQ generally indicates that you're more likely to go on to a higher education and make more money, it's only advantageous to a point. Once you succeed at a score of 120, you won't enjoy more miserable real-world advantages than those with a score of 180. To put it shortly, intelligence has a threshold. In addition to being intellectually and imaginatively smart to be successful, it is also helps to have practical intelligence. This kind of intelligence allows you to read how a situation correctly and to get what you want, whereas IQ is more or less innate. You have to learn to be practically smart, and most people learn from these families. The next lesson is about Joe Flom. He is the last living named partner of a law firm called Skadden, Arps, Slate, Meagher, and Flom. Flom grew up poor during the Great Depression but managed to get a scholarship to elite Townsend Harris Public School and went on a study at Harvard Law School. Once he graduated, he got a job with Skadden and Arps, a once struggling law firm that eventually had nearly 2,000 attorneys and earned more than $1 billion a year. However, Gladwell doesn't buy into the rags to riches story of the success that Flom appears to embody. Instead, he identifies three opportunities and hidden advantages that led to his success. And next, we're gonna talk about the importance of being Jewish. Flum is Jewish. So once he graduated, he found it hard to get a job at any of the most respectable law firms due to the prevalence of an- antisem- antisemitism during this time. Consequently, he had to take a job with Skadden and Arps, a struggling law firm taking the cases that the more established firms didn't want. This meant a lot of litigation, corporate takeovers, and proxy fights cases that Flum ended up specializing in and that the establishment law firms outsourced to him to avoid doing themselves. However, during the 1970s, there was a boom in hostile takeovers, an area Flum and Skadden and Arps were now highly specialized in, that bigger competitors had refused to take on. This left them with a considerable advantages. Therefore, this was a less about Flum triumphing over advertising, but more about what started out as advertising transforming into an opportunity. So next is about the demographic lock. Genes and upbringing are not enough to secure triumph, timing is everything. To be successful, you must be born onto a time and a place which you are presented with a particular set of opportunities that set you up for greatness. Take for example, the events at the turn of the 20th century. Those born in America around 1915 who graduated college when the worst of the Depression was over and wouldn't been drafted into World War II at a younger age in which they didn't have too many personal responsibilities. However, those born before 1911 would have been graduated at the height of the Depression and would have been drafted while cultivating their careers and family life, causing significant disruption. Due to the timing and location to the birth, those born before 1911 were set up with a far more insurmountable amount of obstacles to success than those born after 1915, and they consequently found it much harder to be successful. The next lesson is the garment industry and meaningful work. Jewish immigrants like Flum stood apart from the other immigrants who came to the US in the 19th and early 20th centuries. Because Jewish people were forbidden from owning land in Europe, many had previously lived in European cities and towns and took up urban trades and professions. 70% of the Eastern European Jews who immigrated through Ellis Islands 30 years before the First World War came with an occupational skill. This put them at the advantage to their Irish and Italian counterparts who had previously been peasants and tenant farmers. Next, Harlan, Kentucky. It was founded in the 1819 by 8 immigrant families from Scotland and Ireland. However, all was not peaceful as two of the town's founding families, the Howards and the Turners, they didn't get along. Yet, this was a pattern that was repeating itself in a small towns up and down at the Appalachians. The reason for this pattern of violence is a culture of honor. Such a culture arises when an individual's reputation is central to their livelihood and sense of self-worth. Working as herdsmen with fit such a description, the Scottish-Irish immigrants that inhabited Appalachia had particularly strong cultures of honor, as they had been herdsmen who carved out in a livelihood on rocky, inhospitable land. Consequently, they dealt with conflict by forming tight family bonds and placing loyalty to their kin above all else. Next is the ethnic theory of plane crashes. Between the 1988 and 1998, the American Airlines reportedly only one plane accident in every 4 million flights. In comparison, during this same time period, Korean Air lost nearly 5 planes per million flights. Gladwell argues that the reason for Korean Air's spate of crashes was Korea's cultural legacy. While each individual has their own unique personality, the community they grow up in can have a large influence on how they behave. Dutch psychologist Geert Hofstede was fascinated by the cultural behavioral variations between countries, keen to understand which cultures valued and respected authority and which didn't. He created the Power Distance Index. Next is the rice paddies and math test. When English speakers are asked to look at the list of 7 individual digits, then look away and memorize them for 20 seconds, their recall is about 50% accurate. However, Chinese speakers' recall is 100% accurate. The reason? We memorize easily what can be said or read within 2 seconds time frame. When Chinese speakers see a 7-digit list, their language allows them to fit all the digits into a 2-second span, unlike English speakers. Further, the English-speaking number system is highly irregular. For example, numbers above 20 put the decade first and the unit number second. But for now, below 20 it's the other way around. This isn't the case in the China, Japan, and Korea. Their number system is more logical. For example, 11 is 10-1 and 24 is 2 10s 4. Consequently, Asian children learn to count much faster than American children. It also means they can perform more complex mathematical tasks at a younger age. Gladwell argues that because Asian children have the advantage of a logical number system, it's more likely that they will enjoy math than their American counterparts. Consequently, they are more likely to put into an effort to learn math. So the stereotypes of Asians being good at math comes from the logic of their language, not a natural innate ability. So that's it. That's all that I understand, or that's the parts of the book that catch up my attention. So thank you for watching.